Thank you, Mr. President, and also thank you to your team for all of your leadership and support through this year's budget process, and to all of my colleagues for your thoughtfulness in what has been a period with many difficult decisions to make that I believe we all handled collectively with care and in good faith. Throughout this budget cycle, I have consistently urged caution, not because we don't have many worthy projects, supports, and needs throughout our county, but because we as a body need to be realistic about what we can and cannot afford to do. Drawing down our reserves to near the policy level leaves us with very little cushion if revenues don't come in as projected at a time when some of our neighboring jurisdictions have already been engaged in belt tightening, including some needing to do mid-year adjustments in FY24 to deal with the current fiscal realities that are impacting the state and the nation as a whole. In the spirit of good negotiation, and as evidenced by the end of Councilmember Katz's comments, also maintained good humor, everyone has to give a little outside their comfort zone, and we may each feel like something could have been done differently in this process, but we've reached a compromise to carry us forward into FY25. In reaching a balanced budget, we had to be balanced in allocations of funding across multiple sectors of government operations and multiple policy priorities, and this budget represents that compromise. It means that we do find ourselves going above and beyond again because we want to take care of people, projects, and programs, many that federal dollars infused locally as a result of the pandemic previously funded. We are funding MCPS above what the county executive recommended. That is a compromised position and comes with the recognition that we cannot go back and redo the past, but we can have a laser focus on the future. I have been consistent in my desire to both collaborate with and hold MCPS to a high standard for its operations, and reiterated the need to have primary focus on educating our students in a safe and secure environment conducive to learning and teaching for all. I am appreciative of the new leadership of Interim Superintendent Dr. Monique Felder and her Acting Chief of Staff, Dr. Henry Johnson. Some folks in an interim or acting role may choose a state of operational limbo. They have not. I appreciate Dr. Felder's commitment to jumping in head first and being very willing to tackle the many challenges facing our system directly, methodically, and with urgency. It is true that our student population is not growing in numbers, but there is a Herculean task ahead in reforming processes and procedures that were put in place before the students returned from virtual learning, and making sure we provide safe spaces for all to learn, identify student gaps and needs, and to ensure that all students in all schools countywide experience quality education that sets them up for future college and career success. This council does not control line item allocations to the MCPS budget. The Board of Education does. Just because something was done in the past, too, doesn't mean it has to be done that way in the future. And it's critically important that MCPS do a deep fiscal and operational dive to create systems that work for the here and now, not resting on the status quo, and maximize use of the budget to focus on the work of educating our students and supporting our staff in the individual school buildings. I'm also thankful that we've agreed to fund 2 additional employees to staff the Educational Oversight Division for MCPS investigations within the Office of the Inspector General. There were items that we are able to fund that were of particular importance from a policy perspective or to residents in District 7 for me, and I want to thank my colleagues for working together to support each of these items. First, expanding that drone as first responder program to cover Montgomery Village, Gaithersburg, and Germantown in the Up County, as well as Bethesda. Being intentional in expanding funding through the Children's Opportunity Alliance for direct pre-K seat creation. Pursuing the long-awaited Shady Grove Bus Depot project in the CIP, which will ultimately allow the transit-oriented development of affordable housing envisioned by the Shady Grove sector plan to be realized. Seed funding to start planning for a Montgomery Village Recreation Center. Additional funding for our police cadet program so participants won't have to seek other employment during gaps in the program in the summertime, helping to draw more participants and more future quality officers and civilian staff. Maintaining and expanding mobile crisis outreach teams as we strengthen and enhance our ability to respond to individuals in crisis. Increased funding for youth safety services to prevent homelessness, peer support specialists to support the intensive work with individuals with significant mental and behavioral health needs at Progress Place, funding our Parks Department for park activation, research, grants administration, and direct services to benefit our many users per year, funding to modernize police technology and data infrastructure to both enhance service delivery and provide meaningful data to inform departmental decision-making and policymakers, funding to hire personnel for the State's Attorney's Office Digital Evidence Review Unit to bring efficiency to the process and deal with the increasing volume of digital evidence relevant to prosecutions and support the work of our Assistant State's Attorneys, funding an upcounting planning supervisor to assist with intake and regulatory coordination in an area of our county that has many unique and complex land use considerations, and implementation of the Great Seneca Transitway project to connect neighborhoods in the Shady Grove Metro Station with the universities at Shady Grove. It's important to finish what we start, and with this budget, we will be able to deliver on that. There's a lot more that I'm proud of, and I'm happy we were able to support, from economic development to food system resiliency and additional funding for our developmental disabilities community, medical and health services in our communities, spay and neuter at the animal shelter, MoCo Pride, and enhanced staffing for MCFRS to assist with mitigating response time delays at our volunteer station. Took a lot of balance and care. I hope we keep that in mind in the future as it comes to fiscal responsibility. While I would have preferred this budget be more sustainable, I understand our needs. And I also know that we cannot afford to continue increasing expenditures at this rate, so we need to find more efficient and realistic and sustainable ways to deliver services. I'm thankful for all the community stakeholders who came out and made their voices heard in the past few months, our staff analysts and attorneys, partners in the executive branch, and particularly thank you to my office team, Sarah, Doug, Caroline, and my very calm, cool, and collected chief of staff, Aaron Kraut. Also my husbands, my 4 children who don't want to hear me utter the word budget anymore, and my parents who watch us and boost our YouTube stats. Thank you, Mr. President.